Welcome to today's Explainer. We've got a fantastic journey ahead of us today because we are literally bridging the gap between your local neighborhood and massive global literary concepts. We're diving headfirst into contemporary literature. Specifically, we're going to talk about how to orient yourself in this space and set up your personal reading log, your Tala Atawan. We're going to explore exactly how your everyday reality, the normal stuff you see, hear, and experience right outside your own front door, actually connects to the wider world in some pretty profound ways.
So, here is our quick roadmap for the day. We'll kick things off on the streets of Mandaon, explore how literature acts as a mirror, and then map out our neighborhood. After that, we'll define what contemporary literature actually is, unpack some really cool key literary theories, and finally, get your Talarawan set up. It's a great flow that's going to take us from the hyperlocal to the global, and right back to you.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the streets of Mandaon, finding stories in the everyday. We are anchoring this whole experience right here at home.
So I want you to really think about this fundamental question. How can a totally ordinary site become the basis for contemporary fiction? I mean, contemporary fiction is literally defined as fiction set in the real world, dealing with real-world issues. So how does the mundane, everyday stuff suddenly become something profound?
Picture your morning commute. You're walking through the Mandaon Town Plaza, maybe heading down by the port. You notice totally ordinary things, right? Vendors selling baduya, those amazing banana fritters. You hear the rhythmic sound of boats docking. You hear people tossing around local, code-switching slang across the plaza. Now, these aren't just background noise. They are the actual living fabric of contemporary storytelling. Which brings us beautifully to Section 2, Literature as a Mirror, reflecting who we are. Let's look at our core metaphor for this course.
You see, literature acts like a dual lens, and it perfectly captures two distinct types of identity. On one side, you've got your personal identity, so your individual values, the specific way your family brought you up, your own personal dreams. But on the other side, we have our collective identity. This is our shared Masbaro traits, our neighborhood structures, our regional history. Good literature captures both of these. It captures the me and the we.
Okay, moving right along to Section 3, mapping our neighborhood. It's time to put this mirror metaphor into practice. They're going to do this in your reading circles with an activity called Pagmamapa ng Mandaon. And here's the thing, the 3 deliverables for this activity are the actual raw materials authors use to build realistic stories. First, local sites. You're going to identify 3 unique landmarks that define your daily walk, places like Tagpu or Poblacion. Next, regional diction. You'll list the local code-switching slang used in your community. That's how authors create realism in their dialogue. And finally, shared realities, noting the real-world issues your neighborhood actually faces today.
So we've explored our local landscape. Now let's hit Section 4, Defining Contemporary Literature. Time to establish our academic baseline.
Let's zoom out and look at this global timeline. A lot of people ask, why 1945? Well, before 1945, literature was heavily focused on classical heroism, epic traditions, idealized romance. But then, August 1945 happened, the end of World War II, the dropping of the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The world was completely broken and traumatized by this, and it triggered a massive paradigm shift. Writers couldn't just focus on romance anymore. They shifted dramatically to themes of trauma, survival, the abuse of power, and complex identity. The world changed forever, and so did the stories we told.
So academically speaking, contemporary literature encompasses prose, poetry, and drama published since 1945. It's defined by a hyper-focus on the real world, dealing with actual societal issues and rapid technological change. It embraces fragmentation and non-linear timelines. But most importantly, it values diverse perspectives and inclusivity over the old idea that there is only one single universal truth.
To really grasp those diverse perspectives, we turn to Section 5, Key Contemporary Literary Theories. These are the heavy hitters.
First up, we have Edward Said. Back in 1978, Said introduced the theory of Orientalism, which deeply examines how Western cultures often misrepresent Eastern cultures. Why is that relevant to you? Because his theory empowers us to challenge those external perceptions. It gives us the tools to use literature to reclaim our own Mesopotamia narrative, so we aren't just defined by outsiders as the other. It's incredibly empowering.
Next is Salman Rushdie. He provides his absolute perfect framework for collective identity. Rushdie coined the phrase being handcuffed to history. The idea is that your personal destiny is indissolubly chained to the history of your country. Your personal life in Mandaon, it's never truly isolated from the larger history, the political shifts, or the legacy of the Philippines. You are, as he says, handcuffed to it.
Then we have Homi K. Baba, and his concept of the third space is going to sound very familiar to your everyday reality. Baba talks about hybridity, which is the blending of cultures to create something completely new. Think about it. Mandaon culture is totally a third space. It's this in-between site where our local Masbateño traditions are dynamically mixing with global digital trends, TikTok and technology. It's this constant, exciting site of negotiation.
Finally, we look to the brilliant Toni Morrison. She explored how literature acts as a mirror for historical trauma with her concept of rememory. This is the profound idea that traumatic memories don't just stay neatly locked in the mind. They actually persist in the world as, like, pictures floating out there. Literature acknowledges these inherited wounds so that communities can finally confront them and heal.
Armed with all these massive theories, we arrive at our final section, setting up your Talalatawan.
Now we are zooming back into your personal, actionable task. Your Talaparawan is not just a standard Dear Diary situation. It is a systematic, intentionally designed log built to track your changing emotional responses and your textual insights as we go through this course. Literally, this is where the local meets the global right there on the page. Every great entry you write is going to follow a simple 4-step rhythm. Step 1, observation. Start with this specific Mandarin site. Step 2 is textual insight. You connect that site to a literary concept or an author we've discussed. Step 3 is your emotional response. Explain how this scene connects to your identity. And Step 4 is the artifact. Include a quick sketch, a quote, or an example of local diction. This rhythm guarantees deep personal reflection while keeping it academically sharp.
Just to give you an idea of what usually happens, over time, fascinating patterns emerge in these logs. Typically, identity and belonging dominate the space, taking up about 35% of the focus, right alongside historical connection at 30%. Cultural hybridity, exploring that third space we talked about, ticks up around 20%, and other personal reflections make up the remaining 15%. It's amazing to see just how deeply we reflect on how we fit into our community when we really start paying attention.
Okay, before we completely wrap up, let's do a quick mental check. Can you explain how a text acts as a mirror? Do you remember the 4 parts of a Talaralarwan? And maybe most importantly, what specific Mandaon landmark are you going to examine first in your log?
I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. Everything starts with observation. So what totally ordinary site in your neighborhood is going to become the first page of your contemporary literature journey? Look around you on your way home today. The everyday world is filled with valid, incredibly powerful literature just waiting for you to write it down. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I absolutely cannot wait to read your insights.